had talked about when the hash rate drops down, about the cost of Bitcoin or the value of Bitcoin potentially dropping with that hash rate, as if the hash rate is like a floor for the price. Because I'm guessing the way you're seeing it is it sets a floor, meaning the cost of production is up. So then they have to sell for profit over that. And so if the cost of production goes down, then potentially the price could move down. Is that kind of the way you're looking at it?
Yeah, there's a couple of elements. So first one, production cost, is based on the energy spent to produce the hash rates that we can observe pretty readily, and the energy spent to support the network. And you can then work out, based on the average cost of electricity, based on different studies that have been done on miners in different locations, how much they're spending on that. And then you can work out how much they're making from mining Bitcoin. And what you find is when they equate, when the actual price equals the production cost, then, or electrical cost in this case, the raw cost of running the network, the basic electrical input, you very rarely see price spend any time below that. I think it touched into it briefly in March last year, but it's more or less a price floor. So it's a great buying opportunity when price gets down there. Now it's below 20,000 at the moment, so that's quite a way away. But when I talk about the hash rate dropping and the value dropping, I'm referring a bit more towards the energy value, which is another sort of piece of work I did, which basically just it's the evaluation, what I would say, the valuation of Bitcoin based on the energy input in. And there's no formula fitting, there's no power laws or square roots or funny numbers or anything. All it is the raw joules of energy into the network, right, times by one simple integer, right? Like to get basically to convert joules to dollars. And you find that it maps price very well, and price mean reverts to it. A lot of critics say, hash rate follows price, and that therefore it's invalid. I think that happens. Like hash rate definitely does follow price. If price is going up, more people are going to mine to make more money. But it does go both ways. You do see that when miners struggle, it can preempt price drops, and it does. And big cases of that, 2018, and there's been a number of more recent cases. But probably the best support for that is the hash-driven buy signal, which has happened 12 or 13 times now in Bitcoin's lifespan, roughly once a year. And it's, I would say, the best buy signal with 100% hit rate to date for Bitcoin. So, and that's based on hash rate and then followed by some price appreciation. Yeah, so that's kind of how I think about it. And then when you see the network, and you can also just think about it about security, right? A lot of the intrinsic value of Bitcoin is security. If the security doesn't work, it's worth nothing. So when that goes down, I argue the value goes down too.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so yeah, it is kind of supply and demand, and then you have the difficulty adjustment as well. So then that kind of changes. So right now there's a nice premium for mining Bitcoin because so many miners were shut off. But when we adjust the difficulty here in just a short couple of weeks, then that will affect the price as well, which then maybe pushes that signal back up.
Yes. So there's some interesting. Well, it's correlated, right? The hash rate impacts difficulty, and vice versa. So there's also, if you look at big changes in difficulty, we're going to have, I think, one of, if not the biggest change soon.
Yeah.
Often that happens again at a local price bottom. And often we do have, the hash-driven buy signal, you get the best buy signals during the capitulation. And we're in the capitulation now. The trouble is that just based on that metric alone, there's a ton of volatility up and down in those periods, as we've seen in the last 4 or 5 weeks. But it usually is a midterm opportunity for getting a long position, basically.
Okay. So while we have that disrupting the network and potentially kind of creating this FUD and this downward pressure, which when the dust settles is probably a good long-term thing,